As an architecture student, like I had a professor that said I didn't have the pedigree or ideas or skill set to sort of work in any sort of important context. Don't just go to where you think you want to work and just say, hey, I want to work there. You have to do something that they see value in so that the conversation is shorter. Comments, I don't read reviews, I don't read anything positive. To me, the 17-year-old version of myself didn't think that this was possible.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 Believe Nation!
What's up? It's Evan. My one word is believe, and I believe in you. I believe you have an amazing gift inside you that I want to see exploded onto the world. So let's get your motivation to a 10 and get you believing in you. Grab a snack and chew in today's lessons from a man who went from wanting to be an architect to eventually switching his focus to fashion, collabing with Kanye West, and then becoming an artistic director at Louis Vuitton for their men's line. He's Virgil Abloh, and here's my take on his top 10 rules to success. Enjoy! All right, let's kick things off with rule number 1, my personal favorite, prove yourself.
When I used to buy Jordans or like look at an Air Max 90 that Tinker did, I was like, I want to be the intern that sits in the room while they're coming up with that. I didn't want to be a designer. I just wanted to be in the same room because somebody does that. Like, where does that happen? I was such a fan. Like, if, there's real people in that room, how do I get? And so that's what I did. And like, getting a project with Nike is like almost impossible. But I did it in my own way. I did another it's the same way I advocate other people do it too. Don't just go to where you think you want to work and just say, hey, I want to work there. You have to do something that they see value in so that the conversation is shorter.
Rule number 2, thrive off a no.
I was just like an average sort of suburban kid that was skateboarding, listening to Nirvana, Beastie Boys, rap, Wu-Tang. Like you say the music, you can think of a look. And so as I started thinking about clothing, I was always like drawn to what my initial interest was, and that was t-shirts. As an architecture student, like I had a professor that said I didn't have the pedigree or ideas or skill set to sort of work in any sort of important context. So every no is perfect for me. I thrive off a no.
Rule number 3, just do it.
Heron and I were just amongst a spirit that wouldn't leave it at like a bar conversation. We wouldn't be like, so we want to go start a boy band, a DJs, call it Ben Trill, run around the world and make t-shirts. The next morning we just do it. And often I get a lot of questions about, hey, like I want to do what you do. It's not even about anything else but just doing it. It sounds like a motivational speech or it sounds like very figurative, but 9 times out of 10, we all have ideas that you sort of just get gratification off of like saying it, but we sort of translated that into doing it because the generation older than us doesn't believe that we can do it or doesn't believe that we have the intellect. So now I'm in a phase of just like proving to myself, but also like proving to a generation that not only I exist, but there's like tons of kids in every city, just like all of us, that believe that we can create as the things that we idolize.
Rule number 4, disrupt the status quo.
Yeah. I'm not sort of like comfortable with like a status quo. It's important to note too, originally I was just a, consumer. I was the person that was just buying things that were interesting. I came from an era within streetwear in New York, in Los Angeles, and Japan, that there was sort of like great vibrance because it was new and sort of an independent market. And then obviously times are different. So instead of when those brands or designing those things weren't sort of able to continue, I saw a void, picking up the conversation where they left off. And so for me, it's just about, expressing ideas and sort of building a project that's sort of tangible in a way.
Rule number 5, craft your own path.
Can you walk? this is always what I wanted to do, you know, and no one does it. At couture meets street, but people say it all the time. I've had the fortunate ability to sort of craft my own path. You know, people ask me all the time, do you feel some sense of like achievement or fulfillment? And the answer is zero. There's no feedback loop that's like, yes. I'm only interested in like making new things, like getting to this place of the next idea.
Rule number 6, don't chase perfectionism.
Perfectionism doesn't advance anything, ironically. As a creative and as a designer, there's no wrong way to go about the future of your career. The only failure is not to try, you know, and I think that designers, we all have like or creators or artists, we have a natural convention to sort of be maybe tormented, or a little bit of like an inner struggle. Is the work living up to its fullest potential, or is it, you know, is it as great as the work that you idolize from your design idols? But at the end of the day, it's your body of work, and it's the amount of work and the refinement of that work that'll define who you are as a creative.
Rule number 7, have mentors.
Who is your Yoda and why?
I have a ton, you know.
Okay.
Like, and it'll picture it like a mood board or something. It's everyone from Kanye West, of course, you know, Pharrell Williams, like Marcel Duchamp, Damien Hirst, Rem Koolhaas, Kurt Cobain, Eazy-E, King Cruel, you know, Radiohead, the idea of that. I wouldn't be, you know, into fashion design if it wasn't for Marc Jacobs. Yep. So I think mentors, Yodas for everyone is important, and it has a distinct impact on my work.
Rule number 8, be critical.
You mentioned like before that there are lots of brands that didn't work, you know, then there were like 20 that, you know, went before. What is a really hard question for you to answer yourself, but what is it about Off-White that you think resonated? Was it timing? Was it, what was it that worked?
It's the same piece of advice that I give, you know, because I want to mentor. I want there to be more of us showing, and it's really about being critical. At the end of the day, if you see it come out, it's going through like a rapid sort of like algorithm of people that hate it or think that I'm not a designer. You know, it's so what it is when I think of something or propose an idea, I'm like 20 times like naysaying it, refining it, and then it's out. And so, and now it's after time, I'm building a vocabulary. So that's that. But like Kim said, it's like I don't read comments, I don't read reviews, I don't read anything positive. To me, the 17-year-old version of myself didn't think that this was possible. So every day that I'm able to sort of like make an idea and see it come out, that's enough fulfillment.
Rule number 9, define the world.
I'm from Chicago. I didn't go to like a fashion school or, you know, particularly like a design school to sort of feel where the shallow end is on like, is this credible or not? So I wrestled with that. Like, are these ideas that resonate in the public that we were doing, making these graphic T-shirts, is that fashion? You know, I know that it's not traditional. And so what I've come to realize is that the modern world is us to define. You know, the definition of credibility will change inherently as our generation adds 10 years onto itself. And I think that's super important in a way where it's just understanding that this idea of offering an update to classic things it's postmodern, you know? Postmodern. Exactly. It's like, but I see the freedom in that, and I think that can influence and make more impactful work. Just sort of an honesty with what's the sort of foundation and then where it's going from there.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is think ahead.
You know, my brain was like of a whole, like 100% of like a pie chart. only like 15% is actual product, or clothing. The rest of that, 85%, it's like there's marketing, there's business, there's build out, there's pop-up shops, there's website design, there's digital, there's culinary, there's furniture, there's, all these other things that could serve that same ingenuity that we brought to t-shirts, and that's more what I think is like, I think in the next 3, 4, 5 years that these like sort of like streetwear in quotes way of thinking about cell phones can give us a different type of cell phone. I've been focused on this, that like streetwear might be an art movement that we just don't know. We might have just sort of like gave it the short end of the stick and called it, a skate brand. And that's what my work is focused on. It's not necessarily limiting myself to this way of thinking in sort of having a dialogue with fashion and fashion history. It's like, how can it relate to how we can make different products across all realms?
Now, I've got 3 very special clips of Virgil on how to hustle, connect the dots, and practice genre-less thinking. But before that, I want to know, what did you learn from this video today? What was the single most important lesson, and how are you going to apply it to your life or to your business? Write it down in the comments below. You're making a commitment to yourself. When you write it down, you're much more likely to follow through. So leave in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I believe in you. I hope you continue to believe in yourself, and whatever your one word is. Much love. I'll see you soon, and enjoy the bonus clips.
I just moved to this newer space because the concept is growing. How's it going? New office. It's nice in here. But I have no desk in the world. I travel probably like 320 days a year, 8 flights a week. Chicago, Frankfurt, Milan, London, Berlin, Stockholm, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Vegas, and LA. It's a lot. I work on the street, literally, like phone in hand. I feel like Off-White might be one of the truly first sort of like luxury brands that's been just built from social media. It behaves in this sort of hybrid in between a traditional system and a new system, as in streetwear, that clothes just come out at different times, they're posted on Instagram, and consumers can buy them. And I'm interested in that hybrid in between them both. I'm directly pointed at this generation that hasn't been messaged luxury to yet.
So many references of your art and your work point to explicitly or indirectly artists and philosophers from the past. What's your obsession with time and history about?
Well, one of the main sort of focuses of my work is to make sure that it's necessary and important. Make sure that our generation is valid. That streetwear is a valid fashion movement. And it's simply that, what you're saying, contemporary art has this movement and community that keeps those 4 walls together, and it's a very educated system. You make a reference, everyone who's viewing the art generally knows the reference. Right. And in fashion, I want to take that streetwear mentality and put it on the fashion timeline as that same respect that industry gets, the same creativity, and sort of join those 2 things together. So I think it's about understanding the 2 or 3 generations that preceded our idea in fashion. And once you have a foundation of that, and so art is a sort of think tank of different ideas that are translated through painting, sculpture, and I think fashion, I blatantly show that to this demographic so that other people can learn who their favorite artist is.
In some ways, we're just finishing something that's been started.
You're just connecting different dots, and I think that's the beauty of Complex Con to me, is that we've, outside of the industry of fashion or the art world, we on this stage have decided to plug those 2 things together in an unabashed way.
I would go so far as to say that, like this might be the best time in the existence of the world to be young. our generation distinctly like came up in a time where you either had to be an artist, you had to be a fashion designer, you had to be a chef, etc. And I feel like we're genreless. You know, we wouldn't be sitting in this room if someone wasn't like, there was a need for this event to be in Stockholm, you know. That nudge right there already cracked a little bit of a system. So what I've been focusing on is like genreless thinking. You know, I think that's something that like our parents might have been sort of like adopting to, and that might have been why they fit into a box. But I have a feeling that this congregation of people here don't fit into an exact box that they were supposed to be, whether it's gender, race, sexual orientation, you know. So for me, you know, I'm thinking about it like from a level up. Like fashion is just some box that somebody made for someone to feel like they should be in it or not. Or art is something that, and what I see is that all those like four walls of every different genre are being threatened by kids like us just thinking that they can participate in them.
Raise your standard.
Apple at the core, its core value is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for the better.
Not one drop of my self-worth depends on your acceptance of me.
I don't ever give up. I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
Hey Believe Nation, if you want to see my all-time favorite top 10 rules of success, I have a very special secret video for you. These are the individual clips that I have personally learned the most from and applied to my life and my business. Check the link in the description for details.